Muito bem, prosseguimos os trabalhos aqui no Estúdio Nave, e até já nos aproximamos da hora do almoço, mas para abrir o apetite, já se falou aqui da área espacial, falou-se obviamente de satélites e por isso chamo aqui ao palco o CEO da GEOSAT, que é precisamente o primeiro operador de satélites em Portugal. Olá, Francisco Vilhena da Cunha, o palco é seu. Muito obrigada. Obrigada, até já.
Bem, boa tarde a todos. Antes de passar para inglês, dizer que é sempre um gosto estar aqui em Ponte Sor. Temos vindo todos os anos também para poder discutir um pouco o que é o futuro do nosso setor e que de facto cada vez mais dinâmico. And now going to English, because fortunately the audience has a large reach and we have also English speaking people among them. Just to say to you that at GEOSAT we are very committed to shaping the future of Earth observation. In fact, we are looking into democratizing the satellite imagery that we get from our satellites, as well as the data that we collect from these satellites and that we deliver to users everywhere around the world. And so what I would like to do during these 15 minutes that we'll be together is to share with you our views on how Earth observation is now helping us to better know our world, protecting it, and help to sustainably explore the resources we have. And how Earth observation is getting more and more pervasive into our day-to-day. And towards the end, also sharing with you how do we see the future happening and how do we see the world of opportunities that we see unraveling in front of us. So just starting with agriculture. Well, it's a traditional sector getting less and less traditional. Actually, satellites have been supporting agriculture for many years now. Satellites have been helping us to monitor crops, fostering the sustainability of the exploitation and enhancing food security. Unfortunately, nowadays we know the importance of that in terms of fighting famine and being able to control food prices. We are also able to map and monitor biomass around the world. And together with our partners from the academy, together with our partners from the research centers, we are now able to assess carbon flows, meaning to see how much carbon is captured in a certain parcel of land. And very soon, we will also be able to do that from the ocean as well. We are also using satellites to better understand how our land is explored. How are we managing our land and to detect change? Very particularly interesting in terms of the fast developing countries, for instance, in continents other than Europe. We also use satellites to support asset management, to support the monitoring of critical infrastructures around the world, energy facilities as well, and also the maritime traffic, both the legal and the illegal. But as sustainability is critical for us, we also monitor our ecosystems and we try to better understand and support the understanding and the knowledge on what is happening to our planet. So with this we use our satellites, for instance, to monitor ice caps. This is one image of a satellite of an iceberg that broke up in Antarctica last year, and also to assess the impact of climate change, for instance, in terms of floods, in terms of drought, assessing also the pollution, and most important, helping populations to cope with the impacts of climate change. And unfortunately, also when times get tough, satellites are there to help us. Unfortunately, fires are a too common reality here in Portugal, and satellites are critical to help us to have an early detection, to support forest fire fighting, and also to help to plan for the aftermath and the regeneration. When disasters happen, satellites are at the forefront of providing data to first responders. Here is the La Palma volcano that we saw erupting some months ago. GEOSAT satellites were in the front of getting data from this island. And also when events take us by surprise, satellites can provide help to humanitarian aid. These were the last days of the American presence in Kabul before they left earlier this year. And when there's a need, satellites help us to support operations in the harshest environments around the world. This is a sad image that most of us know of Mariupol, where we can assess the damage that was done from one day to the other. And this can all be done through satellites. And now going into the future, we don't have exactly a crystal ball, but there are trends that we can identify and that we know that will shape our future, and they will have a significant impact in the way in which we do business and the way in which satellite imagery is used throughout the world. The first one, I think it's a trend that we are very keen on explaining because it's the trend that allows us to be here today. In the past, space was an endeavor for big countries and their space agencies. In the past few years, what we have been seeing is that right now, smaller countries and their industries have a shot at having a say in space. And so now we have GEOSAT, one of the two, a Portuguese SME, as one of the two very high-resolution satellite imagery providers in Europe. The other one is Airbus. And so what we see is that right now there's a whole set of opportunities coming in, but of course a lot of risks that we need to be able to manage, because this imagery can be used for good and can be used for different purposes as well. Afterwards, it's what we would call a second wave of democratization. Portugal Ventures mentioned one or two examples in which satellite imagery is starting to be used by end users, by consumers, by people like you and myself that will use it for different purposes than the ones that we are considering right now. So what we see is satellite imagery becoming as pervasive as satellite navigation that most of us ended up using to get here to Ponte de Sor. Another important trend is the servitization. Is actually engaging the customer to do the last mile with them. So we don't deliver them a product, it's not a fire and forget. We understand what are the exact needs for our product. We go into their offices, we go into their operations, and we make sure that we'll deliver to them the right product to their operations, the right product to what they are doing, and help them to further develop this product into a service that they can use to enhance value of their operations. So we see more and more image as a service, satellite observation as a service. And then the timeliness. This is probably one of the biggest game changers in space. In space, we were used to take our time. We had time to plan, to design satellites, to design constellations, to iterate, to test. Nowadays, everything is frenetic. Nowadays, what we see is that, and I'm not even talking about designing a satellite that used to take 20 years perhaps, now it takes 3 years. Now, even in operations, for instance, providing or processing a strip of very high resolution imagery, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, it would take something around 2 weeks. 6 months ago, it would take 2 days. Nowadays, we are doing it in 2 hours. So this is the pace of change that we need to be able to cope with. And this is what is happening to our sector. And this is why we need to learn from other fast-moving sectors. The rates of innovation that we saw, for instance, in the IT sector, fast-moving consumer goods, other types of sectors that know that they need to reinvent themselves very fast, they have a lot to teach to us space industries and space operators. And this would be the last trend that I would also like to share with you. It's innovation. In fact, critical right now is not just to have a good product. It's making sure that we have the right network to develop the next version of our great product. And so for that we need not only the technology, but even more important, we need the people. And we need to be able to get the right people, not just the right technicians, the right people that are able to work in teams, to work in a very agile environment, and to be creative enough to make sure that we launch a satellite today and in 2 to 3 years we'll have a new version of that satellite in space. And so the question would come, great, in the scope of these trends, where is GEOSAT going? And this is, well, final slide just to share with you what are we doing to take a hold of this future? So we have discussed PRR funds just in the previous panel. We are actually quite proud to be able to manage one of the agendas that was approved in the scope of these funds to develop the next generation of our satellites. And so from 2025, we will have in our operations 3 new very high resolution satellites. It means satellites with resolution better than 50 centimeters, and 8 new satellites that would allow us 2-meter resolution, but together with our partner satellites in Spain and in other countries, they will allow us to have revisit in 3 hours. So fast developing events will become the realm of these satellites. And so with this, we look to ourselves as poised to bring the future of EO to Portugal. And I would leave you with my final challenge. It would go to engineers, to managers, and to space enthusiasts all over Portugal, Europe, and other places to come and build the future of Earth observation with us right here from Portugal. Well, thank you very much.
Francisco, obrigada pela sua intervenção aqui na reta final. Está a correr bem o negócio, pelos vistos?
Ótimo.
E vamos, aproveita a sua presença aqui, vamos despedir os dois, vamos olhar para aquela câmara e dizer que esperamos que esta intervenção tenha aberto o apetite, porque agora vamos almoçar e voltamos às 14h30.
Esperemos que sim.
E esperemos que sim, vamos contar consigo ou aqui ou ali também. Combinado?
Até já.
Obrigada, até já. Obrigada.